the ticket price. This does not shock me at all. What did I say earlier? The WNBA was about to F around and find out, and these rival teams were going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, they're finding out.
The stadium lights dimmed, the crowd's roar reached a deafening crescendo, and the WNBA felt as though it were finally soaring beyond the clouds. For years, the league had battled for mainstream attention, for packed arenas, for a truly seismic cultural shift. Then, almost overnight, it seemed to explode into the national consciousness. Record viewership figures flashed across screens, sold-out signs adorned ticket booths, and an undeniable, vibrant buzz echoed from sports bars to social media feeds across the globe. It was a moment of triumph, a testament to growing interest in women's basketball. But then came a quiet announcement, a seemingly minor setback, a few weeks on the sidelines for one player. Yet, that single, seemingly innocuous piece of news triggered an unprecedented financial shockwave that ripped through the entire league, exposing a foundation so perilously fragile, it made seasoned sports executives gasp. Was the WNBA's recent explosive rise a testament to widespread sustainable growth, or was it merely an illusion, a magnificent edifice built upon the singular, magnetic talent of one undeniable superstar? The answer, revealed in a sudden, brutal collapse of market demand, might just dictate the league's very survival, forcing an uncomfortable reckoning with a reality few dared to acknowledge.
The Caitlin Clark effect has been a net positive for the WNBA and all of its teams, but the star guard expected to miss a minimum of 2 weeks. The league will see the flip side of her impact, and there are already initial data points. This is front office sports, no conspiracies, no BS from them. Statistical data.
Before the whispers of her absence began, the WNBA was riding an almost unbelievable wave of momentum. Every single Indiana Fever game had transformed into a white-hot ticket, a coveted commodity that fans eagerly snapped up, often paying prices upwards of $80 for entry, with prime seats commanding far more. The hype was a palpable, almost electric force, igniting a frenzy that led rival teams and savvy venue operators to embark on massive, high-stakes gambles. Consider the audacious move by the Chicago Sky, for instance. They made a bold, unprecedented decision to shift their highly anticipated matchup against the Fever from their usual 2,400-seat home at Wintrust Arena to the sprawling, cavernous 21,000-seat United Center, an arena typically reserved for NBA giants and global music icons. This wasn't a minor logistical adjustment, it was a colossal wager, a clear, unequivocal declaration that one player, and one player alone, possessed the star power, the undeniable drawing capability to fill a venue of that staggering scale. The league, and many within its ecosystem, were banking on her unparalleled ability to move the masses.
Well, now might be the time to hit the panic button. 48 hours after news hits that Caitlin Clark is injured and she'll be missing 2 weeks, the market has responded, and the market has told the WNBA, we don't want this. We want her, but we don't want this.
But then, the news hit. The whisper became a roar. The magnetic force that had drawn tens of thousands, the player who had commanded prices previously unthinkable in the league, was sidelined. And as soon as the word of her absence filtered through the market, everything flipped. The response was not gradual. It was immediate, visceral, and devastatingly clear. The market, in its brutal honesty, delivered a chilling, collective silence that screamed an unmistakable message. We don't want this WNBA. We want her. Without her, the product just isn't the same. The ensuing financial freefall was not just dramatic, it was cataclysmic. That very same Chicago Sky versus Fever showdown at the United Center, once priced at a premium, saw its cheapest entry tickets plummet from $86 to a paltry $25 in a single gut-wrenching overnight crash. That's an astonishing, almost unbelievable 71% drop in value, a dizzying descent from anticipated glory to the brink of financial disaster for that particular event. And this wasn't an isolated incident, a mere blip on the radar. The same devastating story played out when the Fever faced the Mystics on the road.
Chicago Sky can't sell out their own 9,000-something seat arena like it is. They couldn't when they were kind of decent. They're a dumpster fire now. And now that Caitlin Clark is injured, oh, the ticket prices for the Fever and Sky game just plummeted to Hades.
What was previously a sought-after ticket commanding a price of $41 withered to a mere $22, a brutal 47% collapse that left spectators and presumably team executives reeling, even across a broader view. Considering 5 key Fever games over a 2-week span, the average ticket price, which had soared at an impressive $137, withered to just $80 after the injury announcement. That's a 42% plunge in just a couple of weeks, underscoring the severity of the market's response.
They stink now. Yeah, it's about me too. No, it's not, and this is proof.
These weren't minor fluctuations, not slight dips in consumer interest. They were thunderous, undeniable declarations from the fans. No Clark, no sale. The demand for tickets was directly, inexorably tied to her physical presence on the court. When she wasn't there, the entire energy seemed to drain from the building, a palpable sensation of air going out of the room even before tip-off, leaving a chilling void where excitement once vibrated. The palpable shift underscored a stark, unsettling truth. The league's much-celebrated explosion in popularity, the widespread enthusiasm that had been broadcast as a sign of broad, sustained growth, was, in reality, dangerously and precariously concentrated around one singular, irreplaceable talent.
To games over the next 2 weeks have dropped 42% since Caitlin Clark's injury announcement, an average ticket price of $137, all the way down to $80.
This wasn't simply the unfortunate inconvenience of a star player being sidelined. It was a brutal, unforgiving expose of the WNBA's deeply rooted systemic vulnerabilities. The numbers, cold and utterly unforgiving, provided irrefutable statistical validation for what many had long suspected and what some had perhaps whispered behind closed doors. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player, she was the singular, undeniable force driving the entire WNBA enterprise. The bus, it seemed, was entirely reliant on her for propulsion, with everyone else merely along for the ride, hoping to bask in her reflected light. The league's recent surge in popularity, those captivating packed arenas, the social media wildfire that had swept across platforms, and the spiking ticket prices, all of it had been loudly proclaimed as the dawn of a new era, a sign of widespread, sustainable appeal. Instead, this moment revealed a harsh, inconvenient truth: just how much of that hard-won momentum hinged on one extraordinary individual. The WNBA, it became glaringly apparent, lacked a deep bench of equally marketable stars, no broad array of captivating personalities capable of sustaining the feverish demand when their primary draw was absent.
People are selling their tickets, definitely can't get face value, so what do? They just continue to lower and lower and lower and lower and lower the price. This isn't all resellers, folks. Hate to break it to you. A majority of these are everyday normal people. A majority of these are everyday normal people who watch Caitlin Clark in Iowa, watch her in her first year in Indiana, said, man, I want to watch that. I want to go to those games. I want to experience that. They won't be able to experience it. Time to sell.
This forced a brutal reality check, one that was impossible to ignore. If her short absence could trigger such a devastating, widespread collapse in demand, what did that say about the fundamental strength of the league's very foundation? It raised profound, unsettling questions about its long-term viability and its capacity to withstand the inevitable challenges that arise in professional sports. The problem wasn't just about individual games. It was about the league's entire economic ecosystem, even the league's marquee matchups. The highly anticipated rivalries that had been positioned as symbols of growth and burgeoning popularity. Think of the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever, the very embodiment of the WNBA's new wave of excitement, saw their intrinsic value evaporate in her absence. The grand vision of packed houses and electric atmospheres for these showcase events dissolved into a haunting image of thousands of empty seats, a stark reminder of a gamble that had gone terribly wrong. The league's gamble on Clark's singular drawing power was exposed in real time, not just through ticket metrics, but through a chilling absence of energy, a perceptible drop in the overall atmosphere that even the most casual observer could feel. This wasn't a typical star injury story where fans might grumble but still show up out of habit or loyalty to the team. The WNBA's numbers screamed that Clark's absence was a full-blown crisis, threatening to pull the league back from the precipice of mainstream acceptance. The concentration of growth around one player meant that without her, the very concept of a rising tide lifting all boats sank, leaving many teams struggling to stay afloat.
I mean, it's more statistical proof, data, to confirm exactly what we've been saying, that Caitlin Clark is driving this whole ship, this whole bus. She's driving it. Everybody else, get in the back. Get in the back.
With Caitlin Clark suddenly sidelined, an intense, sometimes unforgiving spotlight swung with jarring speed directly onto Angel Reese. For many, she was the obvious choice to step up, to shoulder the load of public interest. Reese, after all, possessed undeniable charisma, a unique, trend-setting style, and a powerful off-court brand that resonated deeply with a specific segment of fans. She was in many ways omnipresent in the media, always in the conversation, never one to shy away from highlighting her impact. She had even famously claimed that fans tuned in specifically for her, a bold statement that underscored her perceived status as a standalone draw. The league, desperate for another face to carry the surge of public interest, watched intently, holding its breath to see if her immense personal brand and undeniable celebrity could truly translate into the kind of widespread ticket sales and media attention Clark had generated.
The marquee matchup in the WNBA, like it or love it, rivalry or not, Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that is the marquee matchup in the WNBA, and those tickets are crashing just as well. From $86 48 hours ago to $25. And by the time June 7th rolls around, it might cost you a bag of Skittles and some Lay's potato chips to get in there.
But here's where the numbers started to tell a very different, far more uncomfortable story, a narrative that contrasted sharply with the prevailing media hype. When Clark was no longer on the floor, all the pressure, all the expectations landed squarely on Reese to prove she was just as much of a draw, capable of commanding the same level of market excitement. And so far, the market's answer has been starkly clear, delivered with brutal, unforgiving precision. Not quite. Consider again the very same Chicago Sky vs. Fever game at the United Center, an event meticulously planned to be a grand showcase for the Reese vs. Clark rivalry. The grand plan for it to fill an NBA arena, a testament to the league's ascendance, crumbled the moment Clark was ruled out. Ticket demand plummeted, excitement fizzled, and the massive arena suddenly felt cavernous, far too large for the occasion. This wasn't just about one game's specific pricing. These price drops, this lack of enthusiasm, began to ripple outwards, suggesting a deeper trend. Even other high-profile matchups, like the Mystics vs. Fever game in Baltimore, saw ticket prices slide dramatically despite Reese being a central, highly publicized figure. What was once a $41 ticket slid to $22, a 47% drop that signaled a very different level of fan engagement compared to Clark's games. Even in cities where Reese's name was undeniably part of the story, where her presence should have ostensibly driven interest, the hype around her simply wasn't translating into the same kind of frenzied ticket buying activity.
And we have plenty of evidence that proves Angel Reese is not qualified to carry the league.
And then there was the uncomfortable silence. While Reese was famously vocal about her self-perceived support and the immense attention she brings publicly, she offered strikingly little comment on the crashing ticket prices or the sudden, undeniable lack of demand that followed Clark's injury. That silence left league insiders and fans alike to draw their own unsettling conclusions. Was it a calculated, strategic move to avoid difficult, potentially uncomfortable questions? Or did it inadvertently reveal something more profound about the immense unsustainable pressure she was truly under, a pressure that perhaps even she found overwhelming? Either way, the situation placed Reese in a deeply difficult position. She was a bona fide headline maker, a celebrity in her own right, but the expectations for her to pick up the slack, to single-handedly carry the league's economic weight, were sky high. The data, however, was unequivocal. She couldn't do it alone. The gap between her undeniable celebrity and her demonstrable ability to move tickets to the same degree as Clark became painfully obvious, creating a narrative schism that the league and Reese herself would have to confront.
The get-in tickets for the Fever's rivalry game against the Chicago Sky on June 7th are down 71%, from $86 to $25.
You might find yourself questioning, what about everything Angel Reese accomplished in college? Her undeniable LSU highlights, her viral moments that captivated millions, her massive social media following that dwarfed many professional athletes. Shouldn't that translate seamlessly into the WNBA? It's an easy, logical assumption to make, to believe that her immense star power and personal brand would carry over and exert the same magnetic pull. But the cold reality, as demonstrated by the WNBA's recent market downturn, is starkly, brutally different. Caitlin Clark's presence possesses an almost unparalleled ability to magnetize crowds, consistently filling arenas to the brim, driving unprecedented demand, and setting new benchmarks for ticket prices. In stark contrast, Reese's presence, at least so far, simply doesn't move the needle to the same degree when it comes to raw ticket sales and consistent league-wide economic impact. This isn't intended as a personal slight against Reese's undeniable talent, her fiery competitiveness, or her captivating charisma. She is, without question, a compelling athlete and a celebrity in her own right who thrives in the spotlight. However, the league's precarious dependence on one player has been laid bare, exposing the inherent limits of even its biggest backup plan, the widely acknowledged second most popular player.
These prices are going to continue to drop,
Wednesday's Fever game versus the Mystics at CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore has a get-in price of $22.
The harsh truth, made painfully clear by the market's reaction, is a critical distinction many observers fail to grasp. There's a fundamental difference between being a star and being a true draw. You can be undeniably famous, a household name, an influencer with millions of followers, and still, paradoxically, not possess the singular ability to drive mass attendance or viewership. As some blunt analysts put it, you can be famous and still not be able to draw flies to a fresh turd. This became the WNBA's painful lesson. The league's implicit gamble on Reese as a secondary pillar capable of shouldering a significant portion of the economic load without Clark was revealed as a miscalculation. Ticket prices, attendance figures, and the general atmosphere all suffered a tangible, measurable drop when Clark wasn't there. And Reese, despite her immense popularity, simply wasn't able to stop the slide. This wasn't just about individual player performance, it was about the league's overall marketing strategy and its flawed reliance on a concentrated few.
This game get-in was like $100 at one stage. This was $100 at one stage. Let's go one ticket. Or well, is it two tickets? Two tickets. Let's just see what it costs for court. Look at how many, oh my god, look at how many people are selling tickets.
Furthermore, a deeper issue emerged, the narrative around the league's product quality itself. Once its primary draw, the player who made previously overlooked games must-see events, was absent. The focus shifted from individual talent to the broader systemic issues within the league. The question became, if the product is so good, why does it need just one player to be compelling? The escalating pressure on Reese, highlighting the immense weight she was expected to carry, only served to underscore the severe vulnerability of a league without diversified, robust appeal. It was a clear signal that fame alone does not guarantee financial drawing power in the unforgiving world of professional sports.
But I'm like, I didn't realize just how bad it was going to get. I didn't realize how bad. Like, they all moved arenas and everybody's trying to sell their tickets. Like, if you look, the get-in price is $23.80. $23.80 is the get-in price for tomorrow night.
The financial stakes unleashed by Clark's absence reached far deeper and were far more perilous than most casual fans could possibly realize. The ripple effects extended far beyond just the visible plunge in ticket sales. Empty seats in arenas translated directly into colossal, cascading losses in associated revenue streams. Think of the thousands of dollars foregone in merchandise sales, the silent registers at food and beverage stands, the deserted concession lines where fans once clamored for snacks and drinks. These are crucial high-margin revenue generators for teams and venues alike, and they evaporated with startling speed. The WNBA, it must be remembered, was reportedly already deep in the red, having lost a staggering $40 million just last year. This wasn't merely an operational blip, it was a significant financial hemorrhage that had already triggered intense scrutiny and growing frustration from NBA owners who hold stakes in WNBA teams. These powerful, financially savvy investors, accustomed to profitable ventures were starting to ask very pointed, angry questions about when, if ever, this league would transition from a persistent financial drain to a viable money-making enterprise. For some, this mounting anger signaled a critical life support situation for the WNBA, where the patience of its financial backers was wearing dangerously thin.
Even though the mainstream media wants us to believe that Angel Reese is a huge star, we have years of evidence that proves otherwise. Like I say all the time, there is a huge difference between a star and a draw. You can be a star, you can be famous, and still not be able to draw flies to a fresh turd.
Adding another layer of profound anxiety is the impending negotiation of a new media rights deal, a multi-million-dollar lifeline that is absolutely critical for the league's future. The potential value of this deal, a cornerstone of any modern professional sports league's financial health, is now fundamentally and precariously tied to Clark's consistent, captivating presence on the court. If that deal, which was anticipated to be a major financial boost, comes in lower than expected because their top draw is sidelined, the consequences would be catastrophic. It would mean even tougher times ahead for teams, reduced resources for players, and mounting unbearable pressure on the league to prove it can stand on its own 2 feet without needing constant financial infusions from its parent entity. The league's entire business model, built on projections of growth and increasing profitability, has been laid bare as terrifyingly fragile, dependent almost entirely on the health, presence, and singular appeal of one phenomenal star.
Angel Reese and the WNBA have been using race to bring awareness to an incredibly bad product. Once you remove Caitlin Clark from the equation, there's no reason for people to watch this league, which is why people haven't been watching Angel Reese throughout her career.
And then there's the almost unthinkable specter of the international market. There is serious, credible talk about Caitlin Clark's options overseas, particularly in countries with burgeoning basketball leagues that are backed by immense capital. In some of these nations, she could reportedly command a staggering $20 million a year, an astronomical sum that the WNBA, with its current financial structure and salary caps, cannot even come close to matching. The idea that the league's biggest, most impactful star could simply leave for a better, far more lucrative offer abroad isn't some far-fetched fantasy. It's a chilling reminder that the WNBA operates in a fiercely competitive global talent market. If Clark or other top names who witness her impact and the league's financial limitations decide to take their talents elsewhere, the WNBA's ability to attract vital sponsors, retain its burgeoning fan base, and secure essential network partners could suffer an irreparable, potentially fatal hit. This isn't just about losing a player, it's about losing the very engine of its growth, putting its entire future as a premier basketball league in jeopardy.
They're losing merchandise sales, they're losing food sales, they're losing beverage sales, they're losing big. They took a big gamble to get into that arena, and they're losing big because it's not going to be full, and those people aren't going to be buying things there.
The WNBA's current predicament mirrors, with uncomfortable precision, the challenges faced by other leagues that have inadvertently built their entire brand around a single transcendent superstar. Look no further than Major League Soccer, MLS, and Lionel Messi. When Messi, the global football icon, sits out a game, ticket prices for his matches nosedive, and rival teams, anticipating his presence, are left scrambling to keep fans engaged and maintain any semblance of pre-match excitement. The WNBA is now firmly entrenched in this very same precarious boat, and it has become starkly, painfully clear that relying almost exclusively on one or even two players is not just a risky strategy, but a recipe for potential long-term disaster. The league has, on various occasions, attempted to push other talented stars into the spotlight, to cultivate new faces capable of driving mass interest, but so far no one has even come close to replicating Clark's unparalleled impact at the box office or on national television screens.
They're getting a new media rights deal. That thing won't be worth shit. If Caitlin Clark was to either get really injured and couldn't play, or decided to just say, I'm not going to play here anymore, I'm going overseas. Where, by the way, they would pay her, my God, some of those countries might pay her $20 million a year to come over there and play. And I'm not kidding.
This level of singular dependence has led to some truly controversial discussions, revealing the raw desperation within certain league circles. Some observers observers have argued with a surprising level of earnestness that the league should actively protect its golden goose, Caitlin Clark, with what they term superstar calls on the court. This refers to the idea of preferential officiating, much like you often see with NBA legends or global soccer icons, where calls might lean in their favor to keep them on the court and out of foul trouble, ensuring they remain prominently featured in games. Whether one agrees with the ethics or fairness of such a proposition is beside the point. The very existence of such a desperate, almost extreme conversation within sports circles underscores just how acutely aware the league is of its profound vulnerability. It's a sign that the stakes are incredibly high and traditional solutions might no longer be enough. The peril of singularity is now undeniable.
It's going to be real tough because even if you're out 3 weeks, you're missing a lot of game, a real portion of the year. All right. The ticket prices. This does not shock me at all. What did I say earlier? The WNBA was about to F around and find out, and these rival teams were going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, they're finding out.
The immediate crisis triggered by Clark's absence has morphed into a fundamental existential question for the WNBA. How does it strategically evolve? How does it build a broad, diverse roster of genuine draws? And how does it secure its future when its present is so precariously balanced? It's not enough to simply hope that another generational talent will emerge and fill the void. The numbers confirm that even the most recognizable names after Clark cannot prevent the demand from dropping off a cliff. The WNBA must find a way to proactively spread the spotlight, to cultivate and elevate a multitude of stars, or it risks repeating this devastating cycle every time a big name is sidelined. This isn't just about one injury or a few bad weeks of ticket sales. It's about a fundamental strategic flaw in its model.
She was the league. Keep in mind, my point I'm trying to get to is when it came out that the league lost $40 million last year, NBA owners that own portions of these WNBA teams were starting to get angry and ask a lot of questions about when is this league ever going to make money. So that tells you there was starting to be a little life support situation happening when the owners were starting to get angry about never making a profit on this league.
The league is facing a profound question about how it builds its future, protects its foundation, and ensures its longevity. And as the dust settles from Clark's unexpected, albeit temporary absence, the urgency for real, structural change has never been clearer, nor the consequences of inaction more terrifying. The league's very existence, its ability to thrive independently, hinges on its capacity to adapt and diversify its appeal beyond one individual.
With Caitlin Clark, they can make money with the new media rights deal. If that was to fall through for some reason, the league is cooked. Close it down. Or Caitlin Clark could, I don't know, call up Elon, start her own league.
The verdict is in, delivered not by critics, but by the cold, unforgiving language of market data. Caitlin Clark's unparalleled impact on the WNBA has been laid bare, revealed through the shocking financial cascade that followed her brief absence and the uncomfortable spotlight it cast on other incredibly talented, yet less economically impactful stars. Her college career, already legendary for its record-breaking performances, foreshadowed this unprecedented drawing power. Now in the professional ranks, the numbers tell the definitive story. With Clark out, Fever home ticket prices plummeted by 42%, and that much-hyped Sky matchup saw a staggering 71% crash overnight. Games that once promised packed electric crowds now visibly struggled to fill seats. A stark, undeniable message delivered directly from the fans. Even as Angel Reese and other compelling athletes step into the spotlight, the raw data unequivocally shows that no one else is capable of pulling fans, driving interest, or moving the financial needle at Clark's singular level.
So anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Caitlin Clark is far better of a basketball player and has made such a tremendous impact in a greater number, more so than Angel Reese. Everybody knows that. Her college career was better. The stadium sales, the WNBA Popularity has gone up because Caitlin Clark.
This is far more than a temporary setback. It's a seismic, undeniable signal for the WNBA to fundamentally rethink how it builds, markets, and sustains its future. It's a challenge that cuts to the core of its business model. Can the league truly forge a sustainable, independent path forward, one that isn't precariously tethered to the health and presence of one singular player? Or will its destiny forever remain contingent upon the individual brilliance and tireless availability of a handful of superstars? The unwritten chapter of the WNBA's future demands a rapid, profound transformation, a diversification of its appeal, and a cultivation of new generations of genuine draws. If it fails to do so, its biggest moments may always be shadowed by its most profound vulnerabilities, leaving a league with immense potential staring into an uncertain, perhaps even bleak future.